and welcome. Tonight, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says lawmakers will not be bullied or intimidated into withdrawing the tax reform bills. House of Representatives charges security agencies to reduce checkpoints along Onitsha-Enugu Expressway to address concerns over socio-economic disruptions in the region. Federal government unveils the Nigeria Hazard Risk Countrywide Analysis 2024, which highlights insecurity as a significant barrier to socio-economic progress. And French President Emmanuel Macron says he will announce the country's next prime minister in the coming days after the resignation of Michel Barnier.
And on business news, Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, intensifies efforts to recover 4 trillion naira outstanding debt despite challenges.
On sports news tonight, FIFA holds draw for expanded 32-team Club World Cup as heavyweights such as Real Madrid, Manchester City and Bayern Munich get group opponents.
And from Abuja, the nation's capital, Nigerian military says over 8,000 terrorists were neutralized in 2024, while highlighting its achievements across the various theaters of operations. The Senate has reaffirmed its commitment to advancing the tax reform bill, stressing that no aspect of the legislative process has been suspended or withdrawn. Senate President Godswill Akpabio stated this during plenary that the upper chamber remains focused on its mandate to represent Nigeria's interest and it will not be intimidated by external pressure. The Senate President was speaking against the backdrop of the point of order raised by the leader of the Senate, Senator Okpayemi Bamidele, over reports in some sections of the media suggesting that deliberations on the bills have now been withdrawn. Our National Assembly correspondent Gloria Umezuki reports.
The conversation about the controversial tax reform bills rages on as lawmakers reconvene in the upper chamber for the last plenary of the week. Underscoring the legislature's independence, the Senate's leader raises a point of order on the issue and describes as untrue media reports indicating that the Senate has withdrawn the tax bills.
I felt it would be important to place on record that this Senate did not suspend. As far as we are concerned, the tax reform bills are alive. Because like I said, there are executive bills that can only be withdrawn by the executive.
The Senate will not be bullied. We are doing our work in the interest of Nigerians. And by the time we come up with our final position, it will reflect the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. And not only that, any reform that we can make, painful as the reform may be, so long as this Senate is convinced that it is in the interest of Nigerians, we will go ahead with it with a view to bringing our economy on a forward march.
The point of order is sustained. The special committee is thereafter permitted to leave the chamber for the scheduled meeting with the Attorney General of the Federation.
The Presidential Power Initiative.
Separately, an intense debate ensued when the chairman of the Committee on Power, saddled with the task of investigating the frequent collapse of the national grid, submitted his report for consideration.
For any time that we have a shutdown occasioned by a grid collapse, to restart the plants cost Nigeria $25 million. Many of us, very soon when we go back to the electorate, they are going to tell us that for 1 year, for 2 years, they've had no light. What is the problem? No transformer. And then they say, NEPA says you have to pay for them to connect. So if these ones are now being procured by state government using public funds and individuals using their personal resources, what is the cost that these discos are incurring?
More lawmakers expressed dissatisfaction with the report.
The report, in my opinion, should have indicated further scrutiny of the spending of the Power Ministry in the last 2 decades.
The report is subsequently stepped down.
We must be prepared to recommend necessary legislative actions. We have a right to revoke. In fact, we can repeal the various acts that made the federal government to commit these blunders. The Committee on Power should come back to us and also increase the scope of work from just the collapse of the grid to the non-functionality of the TCN and the discourse in the country.
The committee is given 6 weeks to report back to the House. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma, has added his own voice to the debate over the controversial tax reform bills currently before the National Assembly. Speaking at the Government House, the correspondent in Owerri, the state capital, Governor Uzodimma says rather than subject the bill to politicking, there is need for Nigerians and indeed stakeholders to carefully study the bill for proper understanding.
Many of us who are criticizing the bill have not even taken time to go through the bill, to understand the merits or otherwise of the bill that has been presented. I would therefore want to call on all of us to take time and study the bill and identify those areas that think that are not desirable to enable us criticize it. Otherwise, I think that is an economic bill that is meant to raise more money for the government, that is also meant to harmonize our tax system and also bring some kind of prudence and decorum to taxation regime in the country. I'm of the view that people should not subject the bills to politics or blackmail. They should just look at the bill, go through it, and then see how far they can criticize or support the bill. I think it's a document that has been crafted in a well-articulated manner and deserves to be given proper attention, particularly given that this is an executive bill from the president. It shouldn't be trivialized. One thing I have seen that this bill intends to achieve is to have a harmonized position where different types of taxes can be paid through a single window. For me, it is an advanced method of collecting taxes all over the world.
Away from the tax reform bill, the House of Representatives has tasked its committees on defense, army and police affairs to work with security chiefs on alternative measures for the Onitsha-Enugu Expressway, addressing concerns of harassment and socio-economic disruptions. The plenary also noted the defection of lawmakers from the Labour Party and the PDP to the APC. Our correspondent, Dele Omoyeni, reports.
On the final plenary for the week, presiding officers entered the chambers, exchanging pleasantries with their colleagues. Security concerns dominated discussions as a member highlighted the proliferation of checkpoints by security agencies, including the Army, Police, and the Federal Road Safety Corps. Notably, the 100-kilometer stretch between Onitsha and Enugu reportedly has 28 checkpoints, spaced roughly 3.7 kilometers apart.
The House knows that the mountain of numerous checkpoints along expressway violates the constitutional right of Nigerian citizens to free movement as enshrined in Section 41 of 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. It is also a direct affront to the dignity of the people, particularly in the southeast.
After a heated debate, the House reached a resolution on the matter as it mandated the relevant committees of the House to engage with security chiefs over the matter.
I'm still on standby.
The Speaker also announced defections by lawmakers from the Labour Party and the PDP to the APC, including Esusa Yawe, Edo, Tochukwu Kere, Imo, Donatus Matthew, Kaduna, Basi Akiba, Cross River, Doyop Form, Plateau, and Erietake Ibori, Delta, daughter of former Delta State Governor James Ibori. The defectors from the Labour Party cited internal divisions as their reason for leaving. Dele Omoyeni for Channels Television News.
Insecurity remains a significant barrier to the nation's socio-economic progress, and this is contained in the Nigeria Hazard Risk Countrywide Analysis 2024, which was unveiled today. That report, launched by Vice President Kashim Shettima in Abuja, also examines Nigeria's ecological and health challenges. Our correspondent Emperor Simon reports.
Stakeholders from different sectors and organizations gather for the unveiling of the Nigeria Hazard Risk Countrywide Analysis 2024, which analyzes major hazards and strategies to addressing them.
Hazards such as increased violence in the northwest, north central, and northeast have compounded risks, triggering secondary effects like disease outbreaks. Such complex interactions underscore the need for integrated approaches to preparedness and response.
Understanding risk is not just about that. It is about saving lives, protecting livelihoods, and ensuring that no one is left behind.
Legislators emphasize the need for increased funding for disaster management in Nigeria.
We will explore motions and budgetary allocation aimed at increasing funding for NEMA, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agencies, and the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, to expand their data collection and forecasting capabilities.
As senators of the Federal Republic, will continue to support NEMA with a view to achieving its mandate.
Vice President Shettima reaffirms the government's commitment to tackling security threats and natural disasters.
This document is more than a publication. It testifies to the priority His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has placed on Nigeria's quest to build the infrastructure and mechanism for disaster prevention and emergency response. This is a moment for all stakeholders to collaborate in utilizing this tool to reinforce the infrastructure for protecting lives, property, and the economy, because this is the burden of service we owe this great nation.
The Vice President proceeds to unveil the document. The 151-page report reveals over 3.5 million displaced persons due to armed conflicts, with the Northeast alone accounting for 2.27 million. It also warns of the rising risks of flash floods, cholera, and other epidemics affecting 80 to 95% of Nigerian states. The government hopes these analyses will strengthen its disaster preparedness and response efforts. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, is advocating the need for development journalism as a non-kinetic approach to fight insecurity in the country. Speaking in Abuja at a roundtable discussion on Nigeria's security and national interest, General Musa says development journalism will not only require collaboration and dialogue among stakeholders, it will also focus on people's centrism in the accomplishment of Nigeria's national interests. He also adds that this approach resonates with his leadership concept, which is to nurture a professional armed forces for Nigeria, which is people-centric, capable of meeting its constitutional responsibilities in a joint and collaborative environment.
The National Counter-Terrorism Center is hosting this annual roundtable themed Nigeria Security and National Interest. Journalists are joined by security experts to discuss asymmetrical national security challenges.
We are gathered here today, though from various professional backgrounds, but as patriotic Nigerians, jointly committed to understanding the role of the media in relations to national security and interest.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, delivers the keynote address and harps on the need for development journalism as a way of supporting troops in the fight against insecurity.
The adoption of developmental journalism
approach allows for a more active collaboration with journalists and media organizations, enabling them to play a more active role in promoting national cohesion and stability, thereby advancing Nigeria's national interests. Therefore, our national security cannot and should not solely be reliant on the strength of the armed forces of Nigeria. Rather, it should be strengthened by Nigeria's educated, healthy, and socially cohesive population, underpinned by development journalism.
In a paper presentation, a former director of Army Public Relations highlights the need for trust and partnership in securing the nation.
In an era marked by rising security threats, the role of journalists in shaping public perceptions and fostering national cohesion cannot be overstated. So reporting on the defense beat in a counter-terrorism context demands a delicate balance between transparency and the protection of national security. Development journalism, with its emphasis on nation building, offers a constructive framework for journalists covering the sensitive issues such as counter-terrorism and other security issues bedeviling our country.
From the discussion at the roundtable, participants agree on the need for a synergy between media practitioners and security agencies for the war against insecurity to be effective.
We can raise issues.
Part two after the break. Court fixes February the 11th, 2025 to arraign former Managing Director of AMCON, Ahmed Kuru, and his co-defendants for the sale of Keystone Bank. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. A reminder of our main stories. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says lawmakers will not be bullied or intimidated into withdrawing the tax reform bills. House of Representatives charges security agencies to reduce checkpoints along Onitsha-Enugu Expressway to address concerns over socio-economic disruptions in the region. Federal government unveils the Nigeria Hazard Risk Countrywide Analysis 2024, which highlights insecurity as a significant barrier to socio-economic progress. And French President Emmanuel Macron says he will announce the country's next prime minister in the coming days after the resignation of Michel Barnier. The former Managing Director of Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, Ahmed Kuru, is set to be arraigned on February the 11th, 2025 on another fresh charge for the fraudulent conversion of the sum of 20 billion naira AMCON funds. The fresh 6-count charge filed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission disclosed that the AMCON funds was converted through Heritage Bank to the use of a company, Sigma Gulf Nigeria Limited, for the acquisition of Keystone Bank. Mr. Kuru and his co-defendants, the chairman of Keystone Bank, Umaru Hamidu Modibo, and the company Sigma Gulf Nigeria Limited will be arraigned before Justice Rahman Oshodi of the Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja. Another person who was named in the charge, the former managing director of Heritage Bank, Ifye Sekibo, is set to be at large. Meanwhile, Mr. Kuru's lawyer, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Olasupo Shashore, has written to the EFCC chairman, Ola Olukoyede, to request the suspension of the execution of the bench warrant which the court issued for his arrest after he failed to appear for his arraignment on Tuesday, December the 3rd, on a 6-count charge of abuse of office, alleged stealing of 76 billion naira, and property belonging to Arik Air. We have more for you on the news at 10. Let's head over to Abuja Studios now, where Gloria Mezoke is standing by. Hello, Gloria.
Thank you, Anne. The Armed Forces of Nigeria says it has made significant strides in 2024, surpassing its achievements in 2023, in spite of diverse threats in 5 active theaters of operations in the Northeast, Northwest, North Central, South, and Southeast. Well, speaking at the bi-weekly media briefing in Abuja, the Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, revealed that troops' aggression across the various theaters of operations since the beginning of the year culminated in the killing of 8,034 terrorists, 11,623 arrests, and rescue of over 6,000 hostages. General Buba adds that through several ongoing operations in these theaters, the military has successfully intentionally created an environment that hinders terrorists' ability to carry out attacks and harm citizens.
Indeed, since January till date, the Northeast Theater has been characterized by activities of the Boko Haram and the ISWAP terrorists, as well as elements of armed militia. Troops, in the course of their operations, have denied the terrorists the ability to carry out major offensives. In doing so, the terrorists have been limited to low-level skirmishes and attacks, which are mostly on soft targets. Similarly, in the Northwest Theater, terrorists and violent extremists targeted troops and other security agencies, as well as vulnerable communities in the course of the year. Some of the terrorists encountered in the Northwest are transnational jihadists that have entered into a marriage of convenience with local terrorists to steal the nation's natural resources.
Some retirees of the Nigerian Armed Forces under the umbrella of the Coalition of Military Pensioners in Abuja earlier today shut down the Federal Ministry of Finance over non-payments of their entitlements from October 2023 to November 2024. The retired military officers who came from different chapters are lamenting the failure of the federal government to pay them their entitlements. The other demands are payment of the 32,000 added to pension, payment of security debarment allowance in bulk, and refund of deductions made from the pensions of the medically boarded soldiers, among others. While the protest lasted, some staff from the Federal Ministry of Finance headquarters forced their way into the premises before the building was eventually opened. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, has flagged off the construction of an access road leading to the new academy site of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Giri district of Abuja. Now, according to the minister, the project is designed to open up the district for development, facilitate access to the area, and encourage housing development. Mr. Wike also believes that the road will equally attract people who can now build homes in the area, while farmers will be able to transport their produce to the city for more efficiently. Our correspondent, Benny Ark, reports.
This project is the third significant road infrastructure to be flagged off in the past 2 days by the Federal Capital Territory Administration. It is a 3-kilometer access road leading to the new academy site of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in the Giri district.
The road is a 3-kilometer road starting from the junction, its junction with the Airport Expressway, that is at Bill Clinton interchange location, and is to be constructed along the district planned road corridors to the academy site at plot 18 in this district. The project, when completed, will enhance rapid development within the area with positive socio-economic benefits that will accrue.
The Minister of the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike, says that the project is part of a larger effort to open up underserved areas and bring development closer to the people.
I'm not talking about EFCC, making it as if we are doing the road for EFCC. It happened that I'm going to be one of the beneficiaries. The essence of the road is not for EFCC, but it's to open up areas which they are also going to benefit for the fact that the academy is also located in this area. The community will also benefit. People will now come and build houses. Farmers will bring their produce to the city. That's the whole essence of opening up everywhere. so that let you not be said that we are building a road for EFCC.
He describes the road as a testament to the federal government's commitment to inclusive development.
So we thank Mr. President for providing the much needed funds to give us the free hand to do what we are doing, and that's why today that everybody is talking about the infrastructure revolution taking place in Abuja. If we didn't get the support of Mr. President, it would have been very difficult.
Then the road is flagged off by the minister. The road project will be completed in 9 months. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
The British Council has restated its commitments to harnessing the potential of young people through sustainable quality education as it marks 80 years of operations in Nigeria. While speaking to the theme of the anniversary in Abuja, the UK High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mr. Richard Montgomery, notes that the voices of young people who constitute a larger percentage of the country's population needs to be amplified for positive development.
That exudes comradeship as the British Council marks her 80th anniversary in Nigeria. The sense of fulfillment officials of the British Council reflect on the journey of 8 decades in Nigeria, 80 years of excellent service in promoting quality education, cultural integration, and inclusivity.
Together we have empowered millions of young Nigerians with skills, education, and connections that open doors. These achievements underscores the strength of the UK-Nigerian relationship, which we are proud to support and nurture for mutual benefits.
The British Council in Nigeria works to create more inclusive society through a variety of its programs, including education, entrepreneurship, English language development, arts, and culture. The United Kingdom High Commissioner to Nigeria reflects on the activities of the Council in the last 80 years, just as he makes further commitment to amplifying the voice of young people.
And the thing that I'm most looking forward to is an issue you touched on, the transnational education partnerships. This concept that actually it's not just about attracting Nigerian students to come and study in the UK, but it's the responsibility of UK universities to build mutually supportive partnerships to improve quality education in Nigeria, in the Nigerian higher education ecosystem. This is where the British Council has played a key catalytic role and will continue to be a key catalytic institution going forward.
Amplifying the voices of youths for the future is at the heart of what we do. And working with youths across sub-Saharan Africa is a priority.
And the cake for the 80th anniversary of the British Council in Nigeria is cut.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. That was nice.
Established in Nigeria in 1944, British Council has continued to evolve in its programs and services to promote arts and culture, shape policies that guarantee quality education, as well as encourage entrepreneurship.
Well, still ahead on the news at 10, Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, intensifies efforts to recover 4 trillion naira outstanding debt in spite of challenges. That's on Business News. Please join us again. Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. 29 students have graduated with first-class honors at the 22nd convocation ceremony of Madonna University in Elele, Rivers State. The ceremony, which took place at the institution's events arena, was marked by colorful celebrations, awards, and recognitions for academic excellence. Our correspondent Deborah Agbalama now reports.
The activities marking the 22nd convocation of Madonna University featured a series of events, including a convocation lecture.
The education and training of doctors cannot be complete without reference to the practice.
As the entire environment gets engulfed with the colorfulness of convocation gowns, as graduates from 11 faculties and postgraduate studies prepare for the moment of reward of their years of hard work on the D-Day with smiles written on their faces. The morning kicks off with the commissioning of an 88-furnished one-bedroom flat for staff quarters named after the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Administration, Professor Martin Anaboso.
This Professor Martin Anaboso staff quarters at Madonna University, Nigeria, LLA, River State, was commissioned by Ambassador Chris J. Mayaki, Executive Secretary, NEC, Abuja, on Friday, November 29, 2024.
I feel elated and deeply honored by the gesture of the BOT and the Governing Council and the founder of the university to name this building after me.
The university in East tradition begins the convocation ceremony with a Thanksgiving Mass. Presiding priest, Reverend Father Anthony Ochawa, charges the graduates to uphold the tenets imbibed during their stay.
The joy there is that Madonna will shape your life and inculcate you that moral dignity.
After the Mass, the Chancellor and founder of the institution, Reverend Father Emmanuel Eder, declares the convocation open. This is followed by his address and that of the school's Vice-Chancellor.
A certificate from Madonna University is well recognized and accepted all over the world, both for employment and for those seeking to further their education. Tracer reports from corporate organizations, both locally and internationally, indicates that our graduates are disciplined, honest, and committed to their work, and are said to be morally sound.
Madonna University is the first Catholic university in Nigeria and the first Catholic university in the West African sub-region. The university took off to a great start in 1999 and has made some quantum leaps to occupy a pride of place in the Committee of Universities.
The conferment of various degrees to graduates is next as they receive their rewards for years of academic commitment with sounds of jubilation. The event features the roll call and recognition of graduates who bagged first-class honors in various departments, as well as the best students in different categories. And the big one, Ms. Onyebuchi Ogechukwu, a beneficiary of the Founders Scholarship, is crowned the best graduating student with a stellar CGPA. She is smiling home with 100,000 naira, a job offer as a graduate assistant lecturer, and the scholarship covering both master's and doctorate programs accorded by the institution. She also receives a cash gift of 500,000 from the institution's alumni, while selected best students from 2 departments are rewarded with 200,000 naira each. Also, graduates numbering about 29 who bagged first class got awarded master's scholarship by the institution. The best graduating student, Ms. Ogechukwu, speaks on the journey so far.
From the very first day I entered Madonna, I knew what I wanted and I tried my best to work towards it. And I had a lot of people to encourage me. I had my uncle, my parents, priests in school. I had a lot of things to encourage me. And I knew what I wanted and I had the zeal. So I worked and I struggled by the grace of God. Yet.
With the 22nd convocation of Madonna University concluded, the graduates now step into the next phase of their lives, hopefully equipped with the knowledge and skills to make meaningful contributions to the society. Deborah Balama, Channels Television News.
Well, a huge congratulations to all of them. And that's it from the nation's capital. It's back to you, Anne, for more on the News at 10.
Thank you, Gloria.
Civil society organization Paradigm Initiative has advocated the use of appropriate technology to address issues relating to citizens' digital rights protection. They made the call during a press briefing to intimate the public about what the organization has been doing and its outlook for the year 2025.
Executives of Paradigm Initiative are here to further the organization's commitment to defend rights of citizens and build capacity towards a digitally inclusive and rights-respecting world. The operating officer of Paradigm Initiative, Nena Paul Ugochukwu, speaks on the aim of the organization.
Paradigm Initiative, PIN, aims to shape a digital environment where technology enhances rather than undermines human rights by leveraging strengths, mitigating weaknesses, capitalizing on opportunities, and navigating threats.
Working to protect rights of citizens is a huge responsibility, especially in the digital space, and the executive director of the organization advocates the use of the right technology.
We're promising that technology will solve problems, and when we introduce technology in those spaces, things become more complicated, and that is a worry for us. So one of the things that we are increasingly doing is documenting such challenges and at the same time discussing the use of appropriate technologies.
In order to achieve maximum results, Paradigm Initiative reached out to other bodies through trainings.
We learned that, okay, if we equip the judges with an understanding of digital rights and how to interpret legislation that covers digital rights, because the process and the chain of events is not just judicial, it goes through different levels. What about the law enforcement personnel and officers on the streets, in police stations? So we started training law enforcement as well, and not just the police. EFCC also has a purview also of cases that border on digital rights.
The executive director goes further to give the 2025 outlook as regards activities for the rights body.
2025 will not be different in terms of the areas of work. We wish that some things will not happen in 2025, but we know agencies of government across various countries on the continent will try to introduce bills that make no sense and that will restrict the civic space in 2025. It will be our responsibility as Paradigm Initiative, as well as our partners, to make sure that we educate citizens on these bills and that we explain to them why it is important to pay attention when government is having conversations about bills.
Paradigm Initiative says it remains steadfast and will continuously work towards keeping online spaces safe and ensure that every citizen knows his or her right on data application in Nigeria and across Africa.
The Christ Compassion to the Rural World Crusade 2024 has concluded in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, leaving a lasting impact on the lives of residents there. During the week-long event organized by Pastor Matthew Ashiwumalowo, thousands benefited from free medical services, including complex surgeries. Our correspondent, Bukola Oriwo, reports.
Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, witnessed one of the biggest medical interventions ever embarked upon by any non-governmental organization or individual, as thousands of residents benefited from complex surgeries like facial reconstruction, fibroid and hernia removal, glaucoma, among other challenging surgeries. In the last 1 week, the Obafemi Awolowo Stadium, venue of the CCRW Crusade, was transformed into a one-stop hospital arena where tests were done, diagnosis given, treatment administered, while drugs and medical accessories worth more than 500 million naira were distributed to those who needed them. Also, more than 700 patients with surgical needs were selected and sent to 4 hospitals within the capital city where surgeries are also being done.
It's worthy of note that it's costing the patients nothing. CCRW, or should I say Pastor Ashimalowo, has committed to providing everything they will need, and particularly that some of these things are very expensive. They were to do it by themselves.
What started as an ambitious vision became a mission and is now translated into reality.
Very fulfilling because first it was a vision, then we trusted God for the provision, and now it's an actualization.
The entire process required collaboration from the Christian community in Oyo State and more than 8,000 volunteers for smooth execution.
We've had a lot of support from the team in Ibadan. We have a protocol team. We have police has also been very supportive. We have military people also on ground. So it has made our work easier.
The organizing committee attests to the unprecedented attendance of thousands of Ibadan residents and many from neighboring towns who daily fill the stadium to capacity, hoping for a miracle.
Extremely rich pastors, rich politicians, and rich people. And I feel that they should turn their eyes on our people who are very popular. Just a night, as at 1 a.m., there were over 4,000 people sleeping here.
Many of those who attended did get their miracle, as thousands were fed, clothed, and empowered.
We just thought like maybe when everything is going to be fine, let's just go for the registration and know what will be the outcome. But we thank God for today that He has done a great thing. What so many people could not afford the money to do, we just thank God, sir. Everything went perfectly.
The CCRW Crusade about 2024 is done, but the lessons are here to stay. One of which is that a new culture of evangelism sprouts to walk the Christian talk of love and care for one another.
Let's turn our attention to the world of business now. Will Ibong is standing by. Thank you, Anne. Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, has vowed to intensify its efforts in recovering the 4 trillion naira in outstanding debts, despite facing stiff challenges from obligors. AMCON's Managing Director, Mr. Gbenga Alade, made this known during an interaction with senior media executives in Lagos, where he highlights the difficulties posed by high-profile debtors who are using legal technicalities to avoid repayments. Mr. Alade points out that these debtors have caused significant damage to Nigeria's economy and among the influential figures in the country.
Some of these debtors, like you said, they are powerful. Some of them, they have political muscles. They can out-muzzle AMCON. Name and shaming is not likely to work for these people. Because if you owe such a huge amount of money, and you are still flying your private jet, and you are still living grandiose and luxurious life, and everybody is saying, they don't have shame. So it is not going to work. What is going to work is to enforce on them. And it is the court that will help AMCON. We enforce, take those their jets, take those their assets, and then they will humble. That is the only way. But as long as we are still in the court and we don't have judgment, they will appeal. They're just prolonging the matter. But if we get judgments on these people today, believe you me, they will be humble. They will come to the table and negotiate, and then they will pay.
And the African Development Bank and Bank of Africa SA have signed a €50 million risk-sharing agreement at the ongoing Africa Investment Forum in Rabat, Morocco, to boost private sector financing and support African trade. The partnership will enable Bank of Africa SA to strengthen support for local banks, increasing financing and enhancing international operations. It focuses on promoting trade for SMEs in sectors like agriculture, pharmaceuticals, and telecommunications across more than 20 African countries. This collaboration is expected to generate €200 million in additional trade and enhance financial inclusions for SMEs involved in foreign trade. Now in the UK, Fraser's Group shares fell sharply on Thursday after the retail giant lowered its profit forecast. The Sports Direct owner blames tough trading conditions and declining consumer confidence around the UK's autumn budget. The company now expects adjusted pre-tax profits of £550 million to £600 million, down from earlier guidance of £575 million to £625 million. UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves' budget, which includes raising the national minimum wage and employer national insurance contributions, is expected to add £50 million in cost by 2026. And back home at the domestic equities market, it's a seesaw movement for the all-share index as investors continue profit-taking on Aradel. Laddie Williams tells us more.
welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, the first trading week of December is not looking bad at all with the drawdowns we've seen so far. Mostly marginal, but we see month-to-date gains still about 0.6%, but we have a marginal pullback again today, 0.06%. But the all-share index maintaining that 98,000 level. Market cap 59 trillion. Let's look at the Tier 1 banks now. It's just UBA and GTCO in the green, 0.15%. FBNH down 0.38%, and a big drop there for Access Corp and Zenith Bank. And, you know, these Tier 1 banks joining Aradel in pulling the all-share index down. So the market move again. 465 naira, that's a close for Aradel Holdings. So last trading day of the first trading week, that's tomorrow. We'll see if investors cherry pick.
And that's a wrap on business. Is back to Anne for the rest of your news at 10. Thank you, Will. Outside our shores, French President Emmanuel Macron says he will announce the country's next prime minister in the coming days. And this comes as Michel Barnier steps down as prime minister after losing a no-confidence vote on Wednesday. Hey, Simon Pusey with this and other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. French President Emmanuel Macron has addressed the nation a day after Prime Minister Michel Barnier was ousted in a no-confidence vote. Names for a new Prime Minister have been swirling even before Barnier tendered his resignation on Thursday morning, including centrist François Bayrou. Barnier is likely to be asked to remain in his post in the interim. His government collapsed after MPs voted overwhelmingly in support of the motion against him just 3 months after he was appointed by Macron. South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol is facing mounting pressure to resign over his failed attempt to impose martial law. The capital, Seoul, has seen a second day of street protests demanding Yoon's resignation, while police said he was being investigated for insurrection. South Korea was plunged into political turmoil late on Tuesday night when Mr. Yoon made the shock martial law declaration. A Georgian opposition leader has been dragged from his party office by police, and others have been physically attacked after the Prime Minister vowed that organisers of a week of pro-EU protests, which he called violent actions, would face justice. Nika Garamir, a leader from one of 4 opposition groups, was carried by his arms and legs by police from his party HQ in a side street next to Parliament in the capital Tbilisi. Other leaders were later ambushed after they met at a hotel. Nightly demonstrations have been held since last Thursday after the ruling party, Georgian Dream, said it was halting the country's bid to start talks on joining the EU. New York police are continuing to search for a suspect after the head of a U.S. insurance company, United Healthcare, was shot and killed in what they've called a targeted attack. CCTV imagery of the suspect in the New York shooting revealed only partial glimpses of his face. Brian Thompson was shot in the back and leg outside the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Investigators say the words "deny, defend and depose" were written on the shell casings recovered at the scene of the attack. The UK Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has announced his 6 priorities for government in a key plan for change speech. The Prime Minister, here welcoming Qatar's Emir to Downing Street yesterday, set out targets including building 1.5 million homes, fixing the NHS and delivering clean power by 2030.
Today we publish new milestones, measurable milestones, that will also give the British people the power to hold our feet to the fire. Because that accountability, that is part of how we shift the focus in Westminster towards long-term change.
A sudden ground collapse has occurred in the construction site of the Shenzhen Railway in China. Eyewitness footage shared on social media showed the aftermath of the site, which is located along a highway road in southern China's Shenzhen. China's state media reported that 13 workers remain missing on Thursday. Rescue operations are underway as investigators work to determine the cause of the accident. The price of Bitcoin has for the first time passed the $100,000 mark, hitting a new record high. The value of the world's biggest cryptocurrency was boosted by hopes US President-elect Donald Trump will adopt crypto-friendly policies. The milestone was reached hours after Mr. Trump said he would nominate former Securities and Exchange Commission Commissioner Paul Atkins to run the Wall Street regulator. Mr. Atkins is seen as being far more pro-cryptocurrency than the current head. And tens of thousands of people are expected to attend Lyon's famous Magic Lights Festival, or Fête des Lumières, to watch Louis XIV statues turned into a Christmas snowball or the project of a child's dream on a building. This year is a special year for the festival, and to celebrate its 25th anniversary, the organisers brought back 6 of the most emblematic artworks of the past 25 years. In total, 32 installations created by artists from France and beyond will light up buildings, squares and streets in the city.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Defending champions Manchester City will face Juventus in the group stage of the new 32-team expanded FIFA Club World Cup next summer, while Chelsea meet Brazilian side Flamengo. Pep Guardiola's City begin their title defense against Morocco's Wydad and also play a lane of the United Arab Emirates in Group G. Brazilian Neymar will have a reunion with La Liga rivals and European champions Real Madrid in Group H. Chelsea, winners of the 2021 final, were also drawn alongside Mexico club Leon and Tunisian side Esperon de Sportif in Group D. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have called on FIFA to halt the process to decide the 2034 World Cup host amid concerns from sole bidders Saudi Arabia's human rights records. The call comes after FIFA had released an evaluation report on Saturday, November the 30th, which gave the Saudi bid an overall average score of 4.2 out of 5, higher than the 4.0 awarded to 2026 bid from the United States, Canada, and Mexico, with human rights deemed a medium risk.
Saudi Arabia did not come close to meeting FIFA's own human rights requirements through the bidding process. It didn't identify the risks. It didn't show how it would address them, and didn't show how it would host a World Cup that would not be tarnished by exploitation, by discrimination, and by repression. And maybe just add to that and say that it's not just the flaws in the 2034 process. We see similar flaws for the process for the 2030 World Cup as well. So for us to see that the Saudi Arabia was awarded a medium risk and that it got such a high score we described it as an astonishing whitewash.
An International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach says it is time for national boxing federations to decide if the athletes will be at the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics under a new global body or if the sport will miss out. The IOC has not included the sport on the early 2028 program yet, since the boxing competition at the Paris 2024 Olympics was run by the IOC after it stripped the International Boxing Association of recognition last year over its failure to implement reforms on governance and finance. And that sport is back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, today said lawmakers will not be bullied or intimidated into withdrawing the tax reform bills so long as it is in the interests of the nation. Also today, the House of Representatives tasked its committees on defense, army and police affairs to collaborate with other stakeholders to reduce the checkpoints along Onitsha-Enugu Expressway. We also told you that the federal government has unveiled the Nigeria Hazard Risk Countrywide Analysis 2024, which highlighted insecurity as a significant barrier to socio-economic progress. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. Good night.